You'll hear me talk about labels a lot. I like to remind us that we aren't things, we do things. And I was listening to someone talk about labels today, and I was realizing just how much we get caught up in the polarities of things these days, where if we're presented with white, then we immediately think about black, but we don't think about any of the gray in between. And I find that the most healthy place to live is that balanced point in the middle. You might lean one way or another, but as close to the middle as you can get is usually the healthiest place to be with anything. So when it comes to labels, I was thinking about the fact that we have this tendency to think, well, the opposite of fear is embracing something. So if I'm not going to fear it, I should embrace it. But that's not actually the best approach to take with many things. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. I'm Ann Blackwood, your Silicon Valley Sage Sister, here to bring consciousness to the forefront of your daily life to make life a little kinder and simpler. So this idea that, I don't fear it, I don't dislike it, so I must like and embrace it, has become very popular these days. But when it comes to things like labels, which is my example in this moment, I was thinking about it as she was asking us questions about, well, what if you didn't fear the labels? And it's like, well, I don't fear the labels, but I don't embrace them either. Like, my mom taught me when I was really young that just because it's not for me doesn't mean it can't be for you. But just because it's for you doesn't mean it has to be for me. And if we take this concept and apply it to things like labels, the healthiest place to live with things like that is, well, I don't do them, but it's not that I don't do them because I fear them. It's that I don't do them because I don't have an attachment to them. And really, it's that lack of attachment that allows me not to fear it. It's not like I don't do that, and so if anybody ever approaches me with a label like witch or something like that, I'm going to be appalled or repelled by it. Often I find it's the attachments to things that create those feelings of fear, which is an odd thing for people to think about. If someone gets called something like vain, for instance, and they don't like being called vain, you don't have to learn to like being called vain to make it so that you don't dislike being called vain, if you get what I'm saying. And that's sort of the mindset that people have, is that in order for me to no longer fear this, in order for me to not have a reaction to this, I must like it. When really you can just develop a healthy lack of attachment, you can have a healthy detachment from these things without having to embrace them. And that's what I'm realizing people don't understand, is that you don't have to live in the polarities. You don't have to live in the opposites. You can live somewhere in the gray in between of the blacks and the whites. And that's usually actually where the highest vibration, the healthiest living happens. And so that's why I wanted to bring this up today, because kind of like my video about taking it back, like, we have these misconceptions about how things work because we've got this idea because of simple concepts like happy and sad, that, you know, if we don't want to live in one, we have to live in the other. And there's always a really great middle ground that allows us to be our healthiest, happiest self. I don't dislike it. I don't like it. I'm just completely unattached from it either way, so that it doesn't affect me. You know, because if you dislike it, then you're definitely going to have negative connotations and possibly positive connotations with whatever the opposite is. And the same goes for if you do like it. If you do like it, then you're going to like that, but you're probably going to have negative connotations with whatever the opposite is. When instead you can live somewhere in the middle where you don't like it, you don't dislike it, you're detached from it in a way in which if someone calls you it, it doesn't make a difference either way. And if someone doesn't call you it, it doesn't really make a difference either way. And this all comes from self-love. The ability to do this comes from knowing that nothing outside of yourself is where the love comes from. Nothing outside of yourself is where the worth comes from. Words, actions, things, you name it. Which is why I work so tirelessly to teach people the things that will help them love themselves when it comes to my clients and even my friends and family. Because when you allow yourself to have that love, that meaning, that worthiness come from within, and not concern yourself with getting it from places outside of yourself, then the trivial things become just that, trivial things. When otherwise, things like labels will end up pushing you in one direction or the other with emotions, which are always going to have their equal and opposite reaction with their polarity. And that's no fun, because that means if you have something that holds you up that high, that means you can fall that low. But if you live balanced in the middle, nothing can knock you off. And that doesn't mean that you have to be numb to it per se. You know, people sometimes have this idea that in order to be in the middle between happy and sad, you have to be numb. And that's not it either. It's about learning to have a healthy relationship with happiness and sadness, not putting value on either any more than the other. And through that, we achieve this middle ground. It's not so much that you get rid of the polarities in that sense, to try to clean up my metaphors, but that you hold the polarities at even level with each other. And that is what allows you to live in this middle ground, because you're not letting anything above the other. You're holding it all at a level ground. Well, that's my story for the day, and I'm sticking to it. If you find things in life are getting you down, if you find yourself not being able to find that balance, I want to help you do that. And I still have 5 spots open for one-on-one clients that I just opened recently. And the way that you can sign up for that is either by signing up for a free clarity call, which I will be retiring my free clarity calls after these 5 spots fill. I almost said 5 pots spill. So there's that. There's also my email. I'm also going to, once again, put the link for my session packages. If you know you're really ready to make sure that all your human systems are healthy so that happiness comes naturally, if you're ready to do that, if you're ready to grow, heal, and expand your consciousness, you can sign up for one of my session packages with that link. Otherwise, there's my Patreon. If you're not quite ready for that one-on-one, I have my self-study content, for lack of a better way of putting it. I have journal exercises. I have guided meditations. I have my intuitive lifestyle course, which we have one more live module and Q&A for that's happening next week. I have my Spirituality 101 and Spirituality 2.0 series, my meditation series, and so much more. The link for Patreon will be in there. And if you sign up with an Ascending, Sanctuary, or Enlightening to your membership, which the Ascending starts at as little as $23 a month, you can join in on that last live call for my Intuitive Lifestyle course. Because whenever I do these live rounds, I don't know when I'm going to do them again. So it could be a while. So this is your opportunity now to get in on that. And the first 4 modules are up and available. And yeah, otherwise, sign up for my mailing list. That's how you get in on all the free things that I do throughout the month, like free meditations, free workshop filmings, things like that. For my Patreon, I do a free Zoom call to film a lot of my workshops that go up on Patreon. You got to be signed up for my mailing list if you want to get in on those. Don't forget to subscribe here if you haven't already. I'm working towards that custom URL and I'm so close. Gotta get just a few more. And yeah, may the energy you serve you well. And let's keep making our way through.